I got the feedback and I really appreciate that you like watching me react to online business strategy. So we're doing it again. In this video, I'm going to review this post shared by Ryan, who explains to us how he went from 0 members to making $45,000 per month with his community on Skool. And before you click away now, because you're like, I am not on Skool, I don't know what it is, I'm not interested, and I don't want to be there, I'm going to make sure that this video is relevant for anyone who is trying to grow their online business and or a personal brand, okay? And the reason why I can do this is because I have over a decade of experience in digital marketing. I've been running Facebook ads since it's possible, built my own business to over 8 million in revenue, over 62,000 customers, 34,000 paid subscribers, all low ticket based, and I've helped thousands of people monetize their personal growth journey online. And so I know a thing or two, and this is also why I love putting things in context for people, okay? And this is what we're going to do in this video. Before we jump in, quick disclaimer, all of this is just my opinion. My results, Ryan's results, which I cannot verify, have nothing to do with you and your results. They will vary greatly based on, your background and your effort and your niche and all of those things. What Ryan shared here is that when he started, he had no business experience. Then he joined Skool and he followed the roadmap that he's sharing with us in this post. So first, he picked a niche, and I think that this framework is actually from Hormozi. So it's you want to use either something around a passion, a pain, or a profession. So he's very passionate about investing. He has dealt with a lot of back pain, and he is also somebody who is, from a professional perspective, making money in real estate. So he first chose his passion, which is investing, and he tried it, but nobody cared. So instead, people started to ask him about how he was making money in real estate. And so he transitioned from his investing community into real estate, and boom, now people were interested. So you won't get it right on the first try. And this is something that I want to say, okay, first off, I love the framework presented by Hormozi. I think it's extremely simple. An alternative that I want to give you for finding your niche is you can sit down and record yourself, right? And I like to use a free screen recording software that's called Loom, and just ramble about your past, your experiences, what you're interested in, what you care about, and just really have a full-on download of stream of consciousness and record yourself. Then strip the transcript, head to ChatGPT or Claude or your other favorite AI chatbot, and paste your transcript with the prompt saying, hey, I am trying to start this online business, right? Build my personal brand online, and I'm looking for my niche. Can you, based on what I shared here, give me 15 MISI, so mutually exclusive, collectively exhausted, niche ideas that you think will work? And it will spit out the list, and you'll go for it, and you'll naturally gravitate towards one or the other. And then just like Ryan did, you start somewhere, and you can change it over time, right? So your niche will always, especially if you're building personal brand based, it can fluctuate, it will grow over time, you'll outgrow your roots, and then you'll come back to them. So be prepared for it changing. And if you're somebody who's building on Skool, I want to show you something. So this, for example, is a passion school that I started as a way to document for people if I had to start from scratch with 0 audience. I have a video about that on my channel that's pretty popular because I documented it. What would I do? And my first hypothesis was I would do personal development work, identity work using AI, because I am doing that a lot. Like, I'm really, really passionate about it, and it has helped me so much. I started that community and it was going really well. You can watch the video. And as I was delivering more and more content, I saw that my community was pulling me towards a direction of doing a lot of emotional excavation, which is, when you are looking on the spectrum of coaching to therapy, would lean much more in that direction. So people were kind of saying, oh, we want more of that. And I was like, okay, hold your horses. I'm not comfortable or equipped or an expert in this terrain, so I cannot take you there. I will have to reorient towards something that I have genuine expertise and knowing of, where I can be the best student walking the path with you, right? So I'm carefully not positioning myself as a leader. I'm just one of them doing work, experimenting, sharing in a community. So I like to go in a direction where I feel more competent and confident doing that. So basically renamed it to Role Model Lab, and doing very much work based around skill building and using growing a business as your vehicle for personal transformation. ChatGPT is still in there. The tools that I use are still in there, but we're doing very much like future focused skill development, personal growth, then looking in the other direction, like, processing past emotional excavation. So the cool thing is that you can adjust in real time as needed, especially when you're working with real people in a community setting. And this is maybe one of the biggest pros, I think, for a community, no matter where you have hosted it, is you can steer the ship much more in real time. And that's also why I like to keep content from a transformation perspective bite-sized. So when you look at this adds up to like a maximum of or a total of 120-ish minutes. So 2 hours is like the core curriculum, is the core transformation. And the other things are workshops and courses that are more like project-based, like in and out, done with the thing. Because when I have it modular like this, not only is it a leg up in marketing, because I can advertise those as option offers separately, right? But it also is a leg up in agility, as in when I need to adjust and I can respond to demands and how I can cover them, how I want to cover them in real time. So that gets me to the next thing, the get members, right? So the biggest mistake I see people make is trying to build out this fancy course and calendar with no one in there. Here's your reality check. No one cares what you want. All that matters is what they want. So get people inside first. Being that I had no social media following, I had to play the hard game. So I started reaching out. So maybe before we going into how he got the members in there, I quickly want to address one thing. In principle here, I would agree with Ryan. I also don't recommend building out a lot of content in advance, because you're cornering yourself, right? And you are developing something in isolation, so you don't necessarily know what people want. I did come up with like my minimum viable initial hypothesis of what is the transformation that I want to offer, so that the members and I have a common ground from where we can grow together. And I do recommend that you have that in here. And this I kept really minimal. So I used the basically vision and experiment and feedback work that I'm doing. And I use that as the core content. So we have a common task and frame of reference that we can grow from. So I would recommend, if you think about it from a scope, if you can do it in a workshop as a kickoff, I think it's a really good idea to have like that foundational content in there that gives people an understanding of what is the transformation that you're offering right now. And it's ultimately going to be on a smaller scope than where you ultimately take them, but it should be something that you feel really confident in and comfortable with doing with them. So you have a shared hypothesis from where you can work, and you can cover this. It should be from a scope. You can cover this in like a 60 to 90 minute to maximum 2 hour workshop. I think that's a really good scope. So I do agree with him, like don't build too much in isolation. I also know people who are starting with, and me when I do beta programs, we also have a video about that. When you do a beta program, I basically just schedule out the lives. Right? So I also have started communities with zero content in there. I just think for most people, and I've recognized this when I built this community from scratch, for most people, when you start from zero, you also need that, what does progress look like here, that measurement stick of transformation, this common ground. You also need it for yourself to be like, what are we even doing here, right? To begin with. So I think that this is a really good scope for what you can build out. And then you add to that, I personally think, like in a workshop style, like based, covering what they need. Now, one thing he said in here is also, it doesn't matter what you want. I'd slightly disagree with this, because here I did create things that I wanted, and I did create things that they wanted as well. But when it came to what do they want more of, and they tried to steer me in a direction where I was like, I'm not home here. I cannot guide you here. I cannot walk here alongside with you. Not only because I'm not having the experience now, right? Because it could also be in a lower stakes kind of environment, right? It wouldn't have to be in something where we're going in a direction where it's like, oh, this is more like inner work, right? It could also be something that is like more low stakes, but that I'm just not interested in. I am personally not interested in too much looking back and meaning making and understanding why. So even if I would feel competent guiding them further and further and responding to their requests in this regard, I still don't have to do it if I don't believe that this is what I want to do and what plays to my strengths. And what is happening as well as you're growing your personal brand, I think once you have found something that adds value, right, you are very much allowed. So when Ryan found the initial, okay, people want to learn about making money in real estate, once he found that initial market fit, I do think you can very well steer how you're cultivating the conversation and where you're leading to and what you think is valuable. And the way that I did this was I took time to reflect, and then I made that decision. I renamed and I explained the reason why, and my churn only went down. Sometimes your churn will go up. For example, I also just made an adjustment in the mastermind, and it did have 3 people reach out because I offered a partial refund if the change does not work for them. So you can also kind of lose members, but I think the important thing is to know that you have the ability to reset your standard, to reset the orientation, the focus, where you want to lead them. Yeah, and yes, it might mean that some people say, oh, this is not for me, but then it's good, because if you try to keep making it for people that would say this is not for me, ultimately you make something that's also not for you, and you'll never bring your best game because you're not naturally loving it. I always like to bring that analogy of Steffi Graf, who is like this famous tennis player. She would always out-train everyone because she just loved to play. And I think it's really important when you are creating your online business. Of course, you need to operate in a market where there's demand, in a niche where there's demand, and within that place where you can create value, as much as possible, I would do it the way that comes naturally and easy to you. And I'm sure that Ryan is doing this because he's doing such a good job with his community. So maybe I don't even want to push back on that. Maybe I just want to add a little bit more context here. Okay. Now the next thing is, being that I had no social media following, I had to play the hard game. So I just started reaching out to my friends, inviting them to join the new community. They ghosted me, literally. So I quit. No, I just... so he's joking here, he didn't quit. So no, I just started reaching out to people in real estate Facebook groups and inviting them. Boom, my first members were in. So I think what is a good learning in here is, again, position yourself where there is demand. Your friends and family, they don't have maybe demand in what you do, but the internet is fast and there are thankfully communities around everything, right? So he found his on Facebook, and so he was positioning himself where already demand was, and that also of course then led to a fit of him finding his first members. Next, host live calls. It will be uncomfortable, welcome to the real world, but live calls are the simplest. And I remember my first live call, I have to say this. I was in my first ever Facebook group, so I also started my online business with a community. I just didn't have the name for that, we just called it group, right? So I started a Facebook group, it was for free, I gave away free value, and I committed to going live once a week. And I had my first live and I was delivering the value. My setup was a nightmare. Everything was pixelated. I just had my webcam and no mic or anything. And I was sweating so much. I was like, oh, wet in my back. And then one person was coming and I was like, oh my God, they're there. And 2 seconds later, or like 10 seconds later, they jumped off and I was like back to zero viewers count. And it was the most stressful experience in my whole life, although nobody saw it, just one random stranger for 10 seconds. But yeah, it's emotionally taxing and it's for your nervous system. If you have not done this before, it's really, really challenging. But eventually it will be second nature to you, and then it's such an invaluable skill to have. Live calls are the simplest and fastest way to get feedback. And when you're getting started, that's the best thing you can ask for. I would 100% agree with that. Having real connection with those people that come from within your audience, that are your ideal client, nothing better than having actually genuine conversations with them. What would make you want to keep coming back to this community? What do you need help with in this topic? Really good questions. Absolutely love that you shared that. Take that information and do 2 things with it. First, use it to plan more live calls. Second, use it as the start of your classroom. Very smart. So I really like what he's doing there. Pro tip, record your classroom courses with your new members live. That way they can ask questions for all the things you forgot and answer them. That's a very efficient way to build out your classroom content. I absolutely love that, and I did not approach it like that, but that's such a smart way. So basically what he's saying is host a call. Based on the call, get the topic for the next calls, record those calls, and repurpose those themed recordings into the classroom as your first content. Very smart. Super, super efficient. I want to say that with this community that I started from scratch, I didn't necessarily do it like that. I had the core content, and then in the community, I was communicating with them, and I was saying, oh, what would you like to have content around? And the money mindset was coming up so much. I never intended to do something in this direction. It was just that they said, we want a solution specifically from you about this. And so I worked it out as a workshop, which actually was a live streamed call where members were on. So I guess we did a similar thing. I just didn't do it from the live calls into another themed call. And I can see how his approach is a lot more time efficient. So I really have to say, this is something that I have to try because it's so efficient. And then, of course, when you have the recording, you can also strip the transcript and you can further process it and create like micro lessons from it. So this is something that I do in Grow with Evelyn. Often I will, for example, live stream myself doing things. And then I'll strip the transcript and break it down into smaller chunks. So like, for example, here, the list building course. It's just really small. This is the YouTube video adding context, but these are just really small bite-sized Loom videos that are from a list, and I got the checklist that I then just recorded the short videos for. I got it from taking a transcript of me doing it and saying, what is the checklist in here? And then I just recorded shorter, more digestible videos for the checklist. So I can see how his approach here is very efficient in content creation, and definitely something I will borrow because that makes a ton of sense. So definitely have to give this a shot. Really good one. Next one is be consistent. Posting in your community when no one else is responding is brutal. I know. Yes. And I think that goes to everything online, right? So I said I want to make this relevant in the bigger context. Posting on Instagram consistently when you don't even get one like is really hard. When I started from zero for this new community, I posted on Instagram and there was like crickets, right? And so it's very, very hard when you feel like you're doing it to avoid. It feels humiliating. So I highly recommend to just be okay with that and remember, yes, nobody is watching, but that means nobody's watching. So it doesn't have to be embarrassing or anything. It's just nobody's watching yet. But if you want to become a leader, you have to act like one. People tend to gravitate towards communities that actually feel like a community space. If you're never there, why should they be? Consistency doesn't require hours a day. It just requires a post or comment that lets people know I'm here and you should be too. I really love this. And this is role modeling as well, right? It's where we have to put our work where our mouth is, and if we say that this is important, we have to walk the path of this is important. So the next point that he makes is run a challenge. Once you've completed 1 to 4, it's time to blow the lid off the box, okay? And trust me, a challenge is an amazing strategy to do that. Keep it simple, 3 to 5 days worth of action items or live calls with an objective of getting your members towards a common goal together. Incentivize people posting and commenting to skyrocket engagement. Fitness, lose 5 pounds in a week, make your first sale, close your first deal. By the end, you'll have a community of engaged people that are closer to their goal than they were before they started. And guess who'll they thank? Yep, you and your community. If you can execute on those 5 things, you'll go from 0 to 100 real quick. I've done it, many others have too, and you can do it too. So it's very encouraging here. The challenge is a really good idea. I'm not sure how so I think when I look at Ryan's profile here, he has 2 communities, right? So he has a free community, and I believe that he uses the challenge in the free community to launch into the paid community. That's what I'm seeing here, right? So the conversion mechanism here, one of them, probably there's also calls and other things. I don't know, I can't speak to that, but it seems like the conversion mechanism from cold to being a member of the audience is to inviting people into the free group. Then there's a nurture process happening, right? Which is sharing the posts, being present, and once there's enough people to have this challenge together, and then I assume from the challenge that's the launch pad into the higher priced community, which is really smart, very good mechanism. We did a ton of challenges in the past on Facebook. So what we would do is run Facebook lead generation campaigns to fill up the challenges. We typically did 3 to 5 day challenges, so very similar here. And then at the end, we would launch into our paid offers. So that's definitely a strategy that works. And it's very interesting to me to see that this also works on Skool. So I really think this is great. For launch mechanism that I use is these days is workshops, right? So what I really like to do is I like to grow my audience using Facebook lead generation campaigns, and instead of a tangible strategic freebie, I promote a workshop that is either happening live or they get the replay. That's how people come on my email list. And then my conversion event, right? Because this is a conversion event that he's doing, just like Alex Hormozzi's, book launch was a conversion event. He did like a long live stream. My conversion event is a workshop. And from there, I invite members into my community, but it could be really any offer. And what I've also sold from those workshops was just paid live sessions with me, paid themed sessions with me, from where you can sell into any offer that you want. I used to sell into my mastermind container, right? So I think that's a really good kind of tip here at the end, is to have a conversion event to fill up your paid offers. So basically what I read between the lines here is that didn't know his niche, had zero audience. What he did to grow his audience was a free community that was getting started via outreach, right? So just being online in places where your ideal client hangs out and invite them to join your free community, your free group. It can also be getting a freebie so you have them on your email list, right? So you can have different containers for your free audience. The key is that you need to be able to reach them when you want to reach them. That for me was a problem with my Facebook groups. I didn't get a lot of reach on Skool because you can also push a post as an email. You can reach everyone. And of course, if people are on your email list, you can reach everyone. I know people are also using Telegram groups and WhatsApp, and I think there's Instagram channels, right? So whatever you have to do to get somebody from they don't know you into a container where you can reach them at zero cost, that's something that I would focus on. Have something to offer in there. So I'm reading between the lines that there has been tremendous value given to people for free, including a full-on challenge where you help them to get a meaningful milestone, right? A challenge is a conversion event, right? So that principle of first getting a stranger into an audience container where I can reach, and then working with a high value conversion event to create an upgrade environment into a paid setting is, I think, a takeaway. He does a challenge, really cool, a lot of work too. I like to do shorter workshops. People do master classes and webinars, right? So I think the conversion mechanism here is great. And then from there, selling into your paid offers, right? For me, it's the annual of my membership that I mainly push. It's also paid calls from where I upgrade people into the mastermind. So those are the two directions that I take. Ryan seems to have funneled them into his paid community, ultimately getting him to $45,000 a month. And this is an incredible journey for a year, and you can really see that he has done the work. So it's as simple as just checking these items off a list. Of course not. Yes, you have to work for it. Nothing I did on the first try worked, and that's why most people quit. I have been with Ryan in the Hormozzi 100, which was a cohort sprint that was led by Andrew Kirby, where they helped us in our business. And Ryan was so consistent there. He shared every single day what he was working on. He was really adding a lot of value to that community as well. So I have seen this man working. And so this is why it's not a surprise for me, but I really love that he adds that it is not that simple, right? Nothing about this is quick, right? And nothing about this is easy. So welcome to a new chapter in your life. 2 years ago. So it was 2 years, right? And he was pretty focused in these 2 years. I was working 12 hours a day as an engineer. Now I get to travel, meet my heroes, and work on things I'm passionate about. So think about what your life could look like in 12 months if you put this into practice. time to work. I really love this post. I think there's a lot of cool things that we hopefully have been able to take away. I hope that you also found this episode of Evelyn Reacting to Online Business Strategy helpful, and to see you in another video. Bye for now.